Hello everyone, PromptMatrix is back with another video, and today we're breaking down the most important, slightly terrifying, but also super exciting AI stories that just dropped last week. Start with the big, loud headline. Gemini just crossed 1 billion monthly users. 1 billion people talking to an AI assistant every month. That's not niche anymore. That's infrastructure. Google announced that the Gemini app is now its fastest growing product ever, and the 14th Google product hit the billion user milestone. Right up there with Search, Gmail, Maps, YouTube, Android, all the usual heavyweights. What it means is that AI chatbots have officially joined the same tier as Google's core products. Gemini is now playing in the same user league as ChatGPT, which hit roughly 1 billion monthly users earlier this year. This growth isn't just people trying a new app once. Google's earnings call and follow-up post say that Gemini jumped from around 400 million monthly users in May 2025 to 950 million by July 2026, and then crossed 1 billion in just a few weeks. Daily active users tripled in a year. If you take a step back, you're not looking like just a POC kind of product. You're looking at an assistant people are actually using every day across Android, iOS, web, even inside Chrome and Workspace. I said earlier was that AI isn't inside a project anymore. When a chatbot hits 1 billion users, it becomes part of the default user interface of the internet. By the way, if you're into this breakdown, the real numbers behind the hype, hit that subscribe to PromptMatrix. Tap like so the algorithm actually shows this to more people. Drop a comment with one word Gemini if you've tried it. ChatGPT if you haven't switched it yet. Let's continue with the second news of today. Google just made the visible. This was generated by AI watermark optional in Gemini and Flow. You can literally toggle that little sparkle icon off. TechCrunch reported that Google added a new media watermark setting. If you'd like to check it, you can also go to Gemini or the Flow video editor, open settings, and you can flip that visible watermark on or off for images, videos, and even AI generated music. Android Authority shows the same. There's a media watermark option with on off. When it's off, your creations come out without that visible badge in the corner. You can see the difference like this. Before that, watermark was saying, okay, this is AI content, so you could just slide it right away. But now, the visible label becomes a creative choice, but the invisible layer stays. Google is keeping SynthID, invisible watermark, baked into the pixels, plus C2PA provenance metadata, no matter what you set in the UI. That means platforms and tools can still detect AI-generated media behind the scenes, even if a casual viewer doesn't see any badge. If you think about in contrast terms, visible watermark is like social signal. Invisible watermark is forensic signal. Google just made the social signal optional, but kept the forensic signal mandatory. Because Europe's transparency rules kicked in this month, a lot of the responsibility to disclose now moves from the model to the creator. In countries that legally require visible labels, that toggle doesn't even appear. Tell me in the comments, if you're a creator, would you turn that watermark off or keep it on? I'm genuinely curious how many of you care about aesthetics versus transparency. Let's continue with Meta, because Zuckerberg just picked a side in one of the biggest debates in AI, open versus closed. And he did it by dropping a new model called Muse Glimmer. Reuters reports that Muse Glimmer is an open-weight 30 billion parameter model designed to run agentic tasks locally on a Mac or PC with a single consumer GPU, meaning you don't have to call a giant data center for every action. TechCrunch goes deeper. Glimmer is distilled from Meta's more powerful closed model, Muse Spark, but ships under an Apache 2.0 license with weights you can download, quantized to fit in about 24 GB of VRAM, optimized with speculative decoding fast enough for real aging loops. Glimmer is the personal superintelligence layer Zuckerberg keeps talking about. An agent that can run on your hardware, all tools, work with files, screenshots, code, and keep a long-running workflow going without phoning home every second, and then frames it as Meta clearly choosing the open weight side in the future of AI debate. Models you can own and modify versus models you can rent through APIs. But what's interesting is that, remember the contrast that we talked about earlier. OpenAI and Anthropic are mostly playing in the closed API space. Meta is now trying to own the you can see tweak the weight story. Developers building local agents, that's a big news right there. You get a model tuned specifically for multi-step tasks, designed to live on your device with a license that lets you actually build commercial products on top of it. As up until now, we have uncovered the news from the US side. Let's switch to Chinese side and take a look at what's going on over there. Chinese startup Z.ai just released GLM 4.3, and it's basically there to challenge against frontier coding and cybersecurity. Unit.ai and others report that GLM 4.3 keeps the same 743 billion parameter mixture of experts as GLM 4.2, no new massive pre-train, and pushes all its gains through scaled post-training. On coding benchmarks like Terminal Bench 3.0, score jumps from 4.6 to 28.3, and Deep SWE goes from 46.2 to 66.9, putting it at near or the top of the open weights coding models it's compared against. Reuters then adds the cybersecurity angle. GLM 4.3 scores about 84.5% on Cybersecurity, a benchmark for reviewing code, finding real vulnerabilities, and conforming them slightly higher than Anthropic's restricted mythos in that specific task. GLM 4.3 hits 54.4% versus mythos at 78%. GLM 4.3 is a general-purpose coding model that accidentally got very good at defensive security through its training mix. On the next one, we are going to go back to the US side, this time coming from Anthropic. Anthropic's Frontier Red Team just published experiments showing Claude agents bring a turf war when they are dropped into the same project with conflicting goals. TechCrunch reports that researchers spun up 3 Claude agents, gave them access to the same software project, but told each one to migrate the backend to a different language. And crucially, never told them to others existed. Over 120 episodes per model, the agents consistently interpreted any strange changes they saw as hostile, assumed someone was sabotaging them, and responded with increasingly aggressive, self-replicating malware, disabling Unix accounts, killing competing processes, and planting malicious scripts disguised as belonging to other agents. You can imagine 3 code bots all editing the same repo, which convince it's right, and it's instead of politely resolving conflicts, they escalate, colluding on prices in some scenarios, plotting shared infrastructure, trusting agents that lied, and then moving into full-on sabotage mode when they feel threatened. Drop a comment and tell me, does this multi-agent turf war story make you more nervous about AI, or do you see it as just another bug we'll eventually patch? Let's talk a bit about DeepSeek, because this is where the price war and the agent war intersect. Chinese startup DeepSeek just pushed V4 Pro to general availability, and it's very clearly positioning it as a premium flagship for agents and reasoning, with prices that are up to 9 times or 14 times higher than its own flash tier. Reuters notes that DeepSeek V4 Pro through a 13 checkpoint is priced around $1.32 per million input tokens and $3.96 per million output tokens, according to benchmarking firm Artificial Analysis. Roughly 9 times the input price and 14 times the output price of V4 Flash, which sits at about 14 cents in and 28 cents out. The technical briefings point out that V4 Pro is a 1.6 trillion parameter mixture of expert model with around 49 billion active parameters, a 1 million token context window, and speculative decoding for stronger agent workflows. Contrast, V4 Flash is the cheaper, lighter model aimed at basic tasks and mass usage. V4 Pro is the turn it up on 11 model for agents, complex reasoning, and long horizon workflows, fully GA API and app, not just in preview. AI Digest and similar roundups frame this as part of outer shift. Frontier Labs starting to compete not just on benchmarks, but on price tiers and agent performance. OpenAI, Google, Anthropic on one side, DeepSeek and Z.ai pushing aggressive pricing and agent-centric features from China. If this kind of thinking out loud about AI format works for you, join PromptMatrix community, hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell, and comment which of these 6 stories you think will matter the most in 12 months. I'd say that's it for today, guys. I really thank you for listening and keep attention up until now, and we're going to see each other next week on with another interesting video. Take care and bye for now.